Okay, in this video we're gonna look at our indices and just rewriting these that are kind of in root form, just in index form. And yeah, I'll make 4 short videos on this moving forward. So question 1, 2, 3, and 4. So obviously they'll get a bit more tricky as we go along. These should be simple. So number 1 there is 2 to the power of, well, 2x. And any root is x to the power of a half. And let me just get a different marker here. It's going to be maybe a bit easier to see. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, that works good. Oh well. And x to the power of a half, like I said, and the bases are the same. So it would just be x to 1 plus a half is 1.5 or 3 over 2. Okay, so that was 1. Number 2, that one, so I have 4x, and this is the square root of x squared. So it would just be, if I follow the indices rule, it would be power over root, so 2 over 2, which would just turn into 4x. But yeah, you would know that the square root of x squared will just be x. And then we just have x squared, because 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, next one, x squared times x to the power of a half. Square root of x, power of a half. And I just plus them, so it would be x 2.5 or x to the power of 5 halves. Okay, and 4, we still have some space. 3x squared, and again to the power of a half. And I'll just add these two, so it'll be 3x 2.5. Same as previous. Oh, it's the same one. This time we just have a 3 in front. Okay, made no difference there. Well, with the x anyway. And the 5th one here, we have 5x, and we have power over root, so it would be x, the power is 3, and the root is 2, and this is 1, so that would be 5. Wow, it seems like all of them end up with 5 over 2. Cool. Let me just think, do I have enough space? No, let's start again. So for number 6, x, and again power over root, so it would be 4 is the power, and the root, if nothing is written, it's a 2. Always remember the root is at the bottom because roots grow into the ground. And I can obviously have 4 over 2 is just x to the power of 2, and that would just be x to the power of 3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, and for 7, I have 7x to the power of 3. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this. For me, the easiest would be, because I know the square root of 4 is 2, I'll just write the 2. That's one option. We'll look at the other one now. And obviously the square root of x squared is just going to be x. And that would then be 14x to the power of 4. The other way of looking at it would have been doing this and then saying, okay, well, the power over the root. So let's say it would have been 4x squared all to the power of a half, because the square root is over the whole 4x squared. So the half power is over 4x squared. This can be rewritten. Again, this is not expected. This is just kind of showing where everything comes from. So don't worry, you don't have to do this. That would have been good enough. And here I would have, I'm going to rewrite the 4 as 2 to the power of 2. And x to the power of 2, I stay the same. And that's all to the power of a half. And because it's one term, I can just throw this in here. And a half times 2 is 1. So I would have been left with 2 to the power of 1 and x to the power of 1, because half times 2 again is 1. And you can see this again is exactly the same as that. Okay, so it's just like, hey, this is how it works. Obviously, you don't have to take the long route. number 8, I have 2x. Now, it's actually, whenever I multiply two numbers that are both in the square root, I can actually just write that number, but let's just do it as a practice. That would be x to the power of a half times x to the power of a half, and you'd see a half plus half is 1, right? So this would be 1 plus 1, so x to the power of 2. And then 9, our last one here is 3x. And again, the short way, I know 9, the square root of 9 is 3, so I would have written a 3 there. And then x to the power of a half, sorry, not a third, a half, because it's x to the power of 1, and that's the square root. And I would just multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, and x 1 plus a half is 1 1/2, or 3/2.